few weeks ago I was walking along this path with my camera and a macro lens attached. I was looking for butterflies and moths and hopefully some reptiles that all shelter in this area, because normally it's a bit windy today because of the change of direction, but normally it's really well protected from that persistent southwesterly wind, and so you find a lot of shelter here, which is why there's a lot of ferns and bracken as well. And so as I was looking for butterflies and reptiles and things, I saw some familiar pair of ears just poking out of the ferns and the bracken. And sure enough, they were the ears of a female Roe Deer. And in its summery coat, they look even more stunning, I think. It's always a really special encounter with deer, I find. And in the summer, they have this kind of tight, gingery coat, which is kind of glossy as well, which is really, really particularly stunning. Now, I was nearly in this exact position here, if I can turn it around, just around here, when I saw it coming up in the other direction, along that path, beyond that tree. And whenever you encounter wildlife and wild animals, there's only a handful of reactions you can go for, and I'm going to stay this way so I keep the mic out the wind, but there's only a few reactions you can go for, really. So the one that always fails is you get too excited and you head towards it quite quickly and ambitiously, and that always results in those bum or tail shots that you inevitably can only enter into the Comedy Wildlife Photography Awards. The other thing you can do is hide and try and conceal yourself, and for sure I do that sometimes, and that obviously works from time to time. The one thing I'm always a little bit cautious with that approach is actually sometimes you can end up spooking them, because if you conceal yourself so well and then suddenly they're aware of you, they can sort of see you and then run off, and you end up with a bum shot again. But that is definitely a way that works, particularly in hides and makeshift hides, things like that. But there's always that risk of them coming in and not noticing you, and then suddenly like, oh wow, whoa, who's that? So that can be one of the issues with that approach. The other approach you can do is to sort of ignore it, sort of see something ahead of you, walk in an opposite direction, and sort of, feign ambivalence and sort of lack of interest, I think, and that can also work as well. I think my favourite encounters with, well, I don't think I know that my favourite encounters with wildlife are ones where the wildlife accepts you on their terms, really, and so this is the approach that I adopted on this occasion as well, where I didn't try and hide, but I didn't move forward and I didn't move to the side. I just stood there while I was in the distance, and it didn't notice me, to be honest, while I was under this tree for a while. It kept approaching, or she kept approaching, nibbling on some ferns as she was coming in, and as she got closer, she picked up on my scent, she looked up, she started to see me and check me out, and then carried on moving along and eating, whilst keeping an eye on me and making sure I wasn't making any kind of, potential dangerous, threatening moves. And so one of the things I always think about and I think a lot about human interaction with wildlife, and sort of I try and think of my interaction with wildlife not as a human, but as a wild animal, which is how the other wildlife will encounter me. They don't go, oh, that's a human, that's another animal, is it a threat? And so what I try and do is try and make sure that my actions as another animal are non-threatening and gentle. So that means no sudden movements, quiet, and again, sometimes a non-interest can be rewarding in its own way as well. So it's about sort of trying to become part of the environment and hope that other animals in the environment accept you. And on this occasion, whilst the deer didn't come and make friends with me, it carried on feeding and walking around and about its business, without running off and disappearing over the horizon. And it was a really, really special encounter. And all those encounters where the wildlife just carries on acting in its own natural behaviour and accepting you there as a witness to it, they're always the most special encounters. And so it was a really nice experience. It's one that I really wanted to share, because there's always loads of talk about disturbance and how best to approach wildlife encounters. And I don't really like the whole bashing people over the head kind of thing, but I think we should all try and share our encounters, positive and negative ones as well, and hopefully we can all learn from those experiences and encounters, and because all of us just want better encounters in the wild and in nature, don't we? So here comes some of the footage of it and some of the photos as well, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.